A very good evening. Well, we start with our breaking news tonight, and 4 of Boris Johnson's most senior Downing Street advisers have resigned this evening. Director of Communications Jack Doyle left just hours after Policy Chief Munira Merz quit over the Prime Minister's use of a discredited claim that the Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer personally failed to prosecute Jimmy Savile. And in the last 30 minutes, 2 more senior officials have gone. They are Dan Rosenfield and Martin Reynolds. Well, our political editor, Beth Rigby, joins me now. So, Beth, I know it's a moving situation, but what can you tell us about what's going on? Is it coordinated, or are we seeing a domino effect, do you think?
Well, look, I think there's 4 different people, and I think there's probably 2 stories here. One is Munira Merz. She is, and I should say to viewers, people won't know these people because they work behind the scenes. But, you know, losing 4 of your key members of staff in a few hours is a bombshell going off in Number 10. This is massively destabilising for the government at a time when the Prime Minister is already in very, very hot water. But to go back to who they are and what's going on, in terms of Munira Merz, she is a key ally to Boris Johnson. She's worked with him since 2008 on and off. You can see her coming out of Downing Street there with him. She worked with him in City Hall. She then came back to be the head of policy at Downing Street when he became Prime Minister in July 2019. And she has resigned today because she says she cannot really in good conscience stay by his side, given the remarks he made about Jimmy Savile towards Keir Starmer.
Well, we know her reasoning, don't we? Because she released that letter to the Spectator magazine.
She did.
I think we've got some of it here, Beth, if you want to take us through it.
OK. If we...
Well, there it is.
Yeah,
she says, I believe it was wrong for you to imply this week that Keir Starmer was personally responsible for allowing Jimmy Savile to escape justice. There was no fair or reasonable basis for that assertion. This was not the usual cut and thrust of politics. It was an inappropriate and partisan reference to a horrendous case of child sex abuse. You tried to clarify your position today, but despite my urging, you did not apologise for the misleading impression you gave. So we can tell just from that, you know, quite a row about that. She told him to apologise properly, and
this morning he did not.
Yeah.
This morning he gave a clarification. What she clearly wanted was an explicit apology, and with that she has left Downing Street, and that was a genuine shock because she has been such a loyal ally. So that's Munira and her position. We then tonight had the Director of Communications, Jack Doyle, resigning, and in the past few minutes, the 2 most senior figures in Number 10, Dan Rosenfield, the Chief of Staff, and Martin Reynolds, the Private Principal Secretary. That's effectively the most senior official advising the Prime Minister. He is the man that sent the bring your own booze email around to staff. Now, all 3 of these gentlemen will no doubt be implicated in the Sue Gray full report when it comes out, because they have been publicly linked to some of the events that she is investigating. So there is clearly a question, Dermot, were all 3 of these heads going to roll when the truth outs around the party? And there have been expectations here saying all 3 of them will have to step down from their jobs. But the manner in which this is happening is uncontrolled. You would expect, the Prime Minister said on Monday, I'm going to have to shake up my top team, I will come and bring you the news. What you have instead is a series of resignations into the evening on a Thursday.
And it doesn't look as if the Prime Minister is in control of it, although he instantly replaced, didn't he, Munira Merz? He's got a new policy chief in Andrew Griffith, an MP.
An MP, and actually who formerly was a very senior manager at Sky. Mm-hmm. He has his sort of parliamentary aide. He's made Andrew his policy advisor. The statement, which if you forgive me, I will pull up on my phone here. This is the statement from Downing Street about Dan Rosenfield and Martin Reynolds, both offering their resignations, the Prime Minister accepting this, thanking them for their significant contribution to Number 10. It says they will continue in their roles while successors are appointed, and recruitment for both posts is underway. Now, it might be that the Prime Minister tries to present this and his sort of inner circle as the beginnings of that shake-up and that clear-out of Downing Street, but the manner in which it is happening suggests a Prime Minister that is not in control. Resignations coming out of the blue, very destabilising. And I think there's also another question in all of this, Dermot. If you are looking into number 10, if you are a business leader or you have a successful career in other parts of government, are you going to want to go into number 10 and work with this current administration, given what is happening there currently and the chaos that this operation is in? And as someone that is outside looking in but deals with these people in my job, I'm looking at going, well, who do I go to? Who do I ask questions of? It really feels like the ship is being deserted at the moment, and the Prime Minister has to try and get a grip, but it feels very, very, very unstable.
And these are officials, but what about the politicians? We already know of at least 13 letters having gone into the 1922 committee asking for a vote of confidence in the Prime Minister. And just before all this started, we were hearing from the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, about the support for the cost of living crisis when he was asked about those comments that Boris Johnson made about Keir Starmer and Jimmy Savile. And he said, well, let's listen to the grab. I was going to quote him, but we've actually got that from the conference. And give us your assessment of what effect this has had.
First thing to say is, she was a valued colleague. I very much enjoyed working with her, and I'm sorry to see her leave government. I'll miss working with her. And with regard to the comments, being honest, I wouldn't have said it, and I'm glad that the Prime Minister clarified what he meant.
Being honest, I wouldn't have said it. Now, other members of the Cabinet who have appeared have been a bit more supportive of the Prime
I just
Minister.
literally wrote down on my bit of paper, cut and thrust, which is how Dominic Raab defended it. He said this was all part of the cut and thrust of the chamber, the remarks over Jimmy Savile trying to defend the Prime Minister. What you saw there from the Chancellor is a politician who's not trying to defend the Prime Minister, who's actually trying to put distance between himself and the Prime Minister, who isn't being overtly disloyal by actually verbally saying, I don't support him. But the fact that he, in politics, sometimes what you don't say tells us all quite a lot. And the fact that he didn't give him his sort of unqualified support and tried to defend him tells us everything we need to know about the way Rishi Sunak is positioning, trying to distance, being slightly critical actually there. In fact, not slightly, I took it as him being critical. And it also shows that Boris Johnson's moral authority with his MPs and his cabinet is draining away because Rishi Sunak thinks, well, I can.
And that begs the next question, which I'm going to put to you, which I already know you can't answer because you're sitting here talking to me, which is how is it going down with the politicians, particularly those that sit around Boris Johnson at the cabinet table? Their support or lack of it crucial right now.
Well, I can tell you that I did speak to one ally after the Jack Doyle, the Director of Communications, resignation, and Munira Mirza's resignation, and that figure said to me that in the case of Jack Doyle, there's complexities around the parties and, as I was saying earlier, all three of those gentlemen had other difficulties. But in the case of Munira Mirza, this figure said to me, well, I agree with her. I think he should have apologised. And that's very telling that actually the Prime Minister has had to perform a series of U-turns, a series of missteps this week over things he said, and then he's had to change his mind. And his party are looking on, saying, you're meant to be getting a grip, and you are not getting a grip, and you are not changing your behaviour. So it begs the question, do MPs think it's time for him to go and let us go in?